2 children vanished without a sound, and within hours the investigation zeroed in on the one man who lived close enough to matter, Daniel Martel. Not because there was evidence against him, but because when kids disappear, proximity becomes the first thread investigators pull. Before we go any further, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss updates on this case or others we continue to follow. The moment Martel's name came up, investigators tore into every corner of his life. They looked at his job history, financial habits, old communication records, even personal relationships stretching back years. They weren't hunting for date, they were hunting for inconsistencies. Anything that didn't line up with the timeline of the children's disappearance. But the deeper they went, the more they realized something unexpected. Nothing in his background pointed to wrongdoing, yet nothing helped them rule him out completely. And that's where this case began to fracture. While Martel's life was examined under a microscope, the search on the ground exploded. Over 8.5 square kilometers were combed by officers, dogs, volunteers, drones, and still the land gave almost nothing back. No trail, no direction, no sign of where the children went. The only 2 items found, a single boot print and a pink blanket, weren't discovered by law enforcement but by the family themselves. That discovery hit like a punch. How could search teams miss the only tangible clues? Were the items overlooked, missed, or placed after the fact? Every possibility raised more tension. And then Martel did something the public wasn't expecting. He praised investigators. Not calmly, not cautiously, but with enthusiasm that many people felt was just too much. Too positive for a search producing almost no results. Too supportive for an investigation that, in the family's eyes, was already slipping. Some people saw his praise as nervous overcompensation. Others thought he was genuinely trying to stay helpful. But either way, it shifted public perception, and not in a good direction. Investigators kept digging. Employment records, bank statements, messaging logs, travel patterns, everything that could build a psychological timeline. They needed hard evidence to clear him, and the only way to get that was by exhausting every angle. But even as they did, the physical evidence stayed painfully thin. The boot print wasn't conclusive. The blanket explained nothing, and the land remained stubbornly silent. So investigators turned to polygraphs, administering multiple tests to Martel and several family members. Not because anyone had confessed or contradicted themselves, but because the case had more questions than answers. Martel's results came back inconclusive more than once. Not guilty, not lying, just unreadable. And that made things worse. Despite all the pressure, the RCMP refused to shift the investigation from missing persons to criminal. They had no signs of a crime, no forced entry, no proof of abduction, nothing that legally allowed them to change the classification, even if the public believed otherwise. Meanwhile, the community stepped in with overwhelming force. 740 tips and more than 9,300 videos poured in. Every second of footage had to be reviewed. Vehicles tracked, faces analyzed, timelines matched. But so far, nothing explosive has come out of that mountain of data. And behind closed doors, family tensions made everything harder. Stress fractured communication. Timelines shifted. Statements contradicted each other. Not intentionally, but because trauma scrambles memory. And in a case this fragile, even small inconsistencies can derail entire investigative threads. In the end, everything circles back to the same haunting truth. 2 children vanished, and the evidence left behind barely fills a sentence. A boot print, a blanket, a neighbor under scrutiny, a family in turmoil, an investigation still running circles around the same unanswered questions, until something new breaks, a tip, a confession, a forgotten detail, or a clue hiding in one of those thousands of videos. This case remains suspended in uncertainty, but it isn't forgotten. It sits in every conversation, every night of paperwork, and every quiet moment when investigators ask themselves the same question everyone else does.